I'm here today to talk with one of the most important people in the world of Tantra about a huge topic for us all, which is suffering, our own suffering, our problems, our pain, the things that wake us up in the middle of the night, the things that give us struggle. How do we deal with those? And what is the spiritual perspective of suffering and therefore of healing? What really is healing, and what is the Tantric approach to healing? So my guest today is Ma Ananda Sarita, and she has been in the world of Tantra for decades. Since she was so young, since she was 17 and she met Osho, she has been on this incredible path exploring Tantra and spirituality. So today we're going to unravel this exciting topic. So I'd like to invite Sarita. Welcome, welcome.
Great to see you, Shashi.
uh, you too, from across the planet.
Yeah, amazing.
So, Sarita, as we're approaching the Tantric Healing Symposium, we're really asking these questions of like, what is the nature of healing? Because I think in the Western world, we have this idea of just taking a painkiller or just trying to get rid of something. But of course, in the spiritual world, healing is so much deeper. So I would love maybe to begin by asking you for a definition of healing or how you would describe it.
Healing is wholeness. It's when we bring all these cast off parts of ourselves back together, because in the modern human society, we tend to live in a kind of schizophrenic way where we divide ourselves. We say, up here is spirituality, and down there is the body and sexuality. So in Tantra, we want to weave together all that we are, all these disparate aspects of ourselves. And that is a process of remembering, bringing those dismembered parts of ourselves back together into a state of remembrance and wholeness.
Wow, I love that. That's so clear. So when people are in this split, I mean, I have my own immediate recognition of how I felt, but how do you perceive people feel like when they're in this split? How does that show up in their lives? How do they feel? How do they know there's something that needs to be healed?
People feel stress. That's one of the earliest signs.
Mm.
Stress arises out of inner division, and usually it's revolving around the third chakra, the solar plexus. And it consists, in a sense, of undigested fragments that have entered our system, undigested different kinds of brainwashing, conditioning, beliefs that are not our personal truth. We haven't lived that, we've just taken it on as a belief. So then it gets stuck because we can only digest what we have experienced. Then it becomes part of us. So if we just have a lot of beliefs kind of swirling around and they're not actually ours and they're not in tune with our true soul calling, then it will create a sense of inner division where we're fighting within ourselves, and that leads to stress. And I'm sure you know stress is one of the leading causes of disease and even death in our modern day culture.
Yeah,
So if you
absolutely.
have that sense of uneasiness in the solar plexus, it means there's some kind of inner division inside. Find what it is, bring these parts together and learn from them and heal through that process.
Mm. I so love that you share this definition because my own experience coming to Tantra was before then I was a Buddhist, but I was in a kind of stream that was very spiritual and heady, but no embodiment, no sexuality. And then I was a student going to parties and enjoying the ecstasy of dancing, but I kept the two worlds very split and I had different sets of friends and I felt like I had two parts of myself. So when you said schizophrenic, I thought, oh, I remember that. And it was with Osho in the Osho ashram in Pune where we danced as a meditation that I finally felt like the pieces of myself coming back together. And I totally felt like, the relief actually of not having to split yourself up.
Yes, Osho was an incredible master healer, actually. He was helping people to remember and reconnect with their wholeness and
Mm.
also to release the conditioning that was not serving people.
Yeah. Wow. So what kind of ways can people do this healing path if people are hearing this and thinking, oh, I have that split. What do I do now?
You know, I think a very good example is Osho's Psychology of the Buddhas. I really love his model of coming back into wholeness. If you can imagine three concentric circles, the outer circle would be your body mind, and then the middle circle would be your subconscious, and the inner part, the inner circle, will be your soul spirit aspect, what he calls your Buddha nature, which is never corrupted by anything. It's always in its pure state. So what Osho is suggesting is that we start from our conscious mind, we go into the subconscious. In the subconscious, there will be many different issues that are swirling around. So that could be childhood trauma, maybe birth trauma, maybe past life issues, maybe ancestral patterns. All of that comprised of unfinished issues that are just lurking around, waiting to be healed, waiting to be completed. But you can imagine how much that is to go into. Like it would take you years, maybe even lifetimes, to work through all that stuff. So Osho says we need to continue on our journey. We don't stop in the subconscious. We keep going till we reach to our essential nature, our Buddha nature. We allow ourselves to experience that through a process of meditation. And then we bring the gift of that back into the subconscious and back into the conscious, into the conscious mind. So this is a journey, going to the essential nature and bringing that back into those areas where we are troubled, where we have incomplete issues. And that will automatically bring huge healing, enormous healing. And this is a process people can even do on their own. And it's something that's very, very powerful once you understand the knack of it.
So really what you're describing is that we can use therapy in a way to get in contact with that subconscious, but we really need meditation and other processes to touch our true
So
nature.
this was the point that Osho was trying to make all the time, that psychotherapy is very good, but it's not enough. You need to link it to meditation and higher consciousness states. Otherwise, it will just take you into the subconscious ad infinitum and you're just wallowing in there. Of course, the psychiatrist or the therapist make a lot of money from that because it's endless. All the problems, troubles, and incomplete issues, you know, all the way back to Adam and Eve. You can continue doing therapy all the way back to Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
But if you use this quality of the Buddha nature and apply it to the subconscious, to the conscious, you will hugely accelerate your potential for finding wholeness very quickly, very rapidly. And I call that a process of remembering. So it literally takes just a few minutes for somebody to taste their essential nature. And then if you do that over and over and you just make it an integral part of your life, whenever you have a problem, you just touch in with your Buddha nature, bring it back to the problem and find out what happened to your problem. Well, in most cases, it will just have evaporated. As simple as that. Sometimes there's a deeper root because we have deep roots of some problems and then many, many branches. So the point of healing is to go all the way to the deeper root, pull it out, and then all those disparate branches, they will just evaporate. And so sometimes there is a gnarly kind of issue that has very deep root, and then you need hypnosis for healing, or you need some color light therapy, or maybe some family constellation, maybe acupuncture, whatever it is. You can use different healing modalities to go into those roots and uproot them. And of course, meditation is always a master key.
Wonderful. So your title was The Healing Power of Inner Ecstasy. And I thought it's such a good title. It reminds me of a song. It goes, all of my demons have withered away. Ecstasy comes and they cannot stay. I don't know if you remember
Yes,
that song. All of my demons.
exactly that. Exactly.
But the thing is, when we're in a lot of pain and suffering, you know, ecstasy seems so unattainable, you know, like it just doesn't seem available. So maybe you could speak a little bit about that. Is there a tantric approach to finding that ecstasy without bypassing our pain? Like how do we find that inner ecstasy?
You know, there's a saying, where attention goes, energy flows. You must have heard this saying.
Yeah.
Energy follows intent. So if we choose that we're going to start putting our energy towards wholeness and healing, then automatically we will tap into our undercurrent of bliss, which is always there. It's never gone anywhere. It might be covered with a layer of pain, trouble, worry, etc. But that layer is not very thick. It doesn't have such deep roots. And so we can actually apply our experiences of inner ecstasy, which are a resource that's within us forever. Because if you think about it, when you are in ecstasy, you are beyond mind, beyond time. You are in the infinite and the eternal. And so any moment that you have experienced inner ecstasy is eternally there as a resource for you. And this is what we're going to tap into in my presentation during this healing symposium. We're going to tap into that and apply it to different kinds of misery or painful areas and find out what happens. Because, you know, when you go on the inner journey, it's always going to be an experiment. We are the laboratory and we are experimenting how much we can open to our fullest potential. So we go into it with curiosity and desire to find out and to experiment, and then let ourselves be surprised by, wow, I didn't know I had this resource hiding inside, and I can just tap into it, and it's going to function as a healing for me.
Ah, I love
And
it
it's
so
very
much.
simple. You know, we have receptors, which are receptors for pain in our body and receptors for pleasure, joy, and ecstasy. When the joy and ecstasy receptors are switched on, the pain is diminished, or it's annihilated. Likewise, if we're focusing on pain, the pleasure receptors are diminished. We won't be aware of them. And this is why teachings around ecstatic birth, for example, are so important. Because if a woman goes into birth believing it's going to be very, very painful, then her pleasure receptors will not switch on. And then indeed the birth will be very painful. But if she can focus more on the pleasure and like try to discover where is the pleasure in this experience, more pleasure will come to her and she can literally give birth on waves of orgasm. So there's a new movement in the world called orgasmic birth, which is working with this principle, and
Yeah.
it's been demonstrated over and over. And you know, it's basically a fact that where our attention goes, energy flows.
Oh, I love it. You know, one time in Bali when I was doing my teacher training, I had a big scooter accident. A dog ran in front, and I was very smashed up. And I had some assistants with me, and they said, "Let's use your own medicine and do orgasmic healing." So I was just breathing and expanding instead of contracting around the pain, and sounding. And then suddenly, I had so much energy flowing through my body, and I really touched, like you said, that resource of inner ecstasy, and I had such a rapid healing. It was like a miracle. So I'm very excited for your class. I think this is so valuable for people, and I think
very simple. This is what I'd like to emphasize. It's
yeah,
not rocket science. It's really very, very simple. So this is what I want to share with
yeah.
people during the class. And we're
Oh,
going to actually do a technique. And I highly recommend that people bring a friend with you to do exchange with. And if you don't have a friend, it's also okay. You can bring a notepad and pen so that you can do it with yourself. But if it's possible to bring a friend, that would be fabulous. Then you'll do exchange together.
Okay, perfect. Wonderful. Oh, I can't wait. Thank you so much, Sarita. Thank you for your beautiful work in the world. It's been a big inspiration for me. I look forward
to joy to see you, and I feel very close to you in spite of the physical distance.
We'll be together again soon.
Lots of love.